Hello, and welcome back to Funnels Briar. I'm Gareth, same as always. Well, it's Memorial Day weekend. It's been a while since I've done a video. And 1 week from right now, hopefully I'm most of the way done through done riding through the 100-mile Unbound gravel race course. Hopefully I'll be somewhere to the northwest of Emporia, Kansas, heading towards Emporia, back towards Emporia from Council Grove. Went for about a 40-mile bike ride this morning. It rained last night, and there's chances of rain at least later today. It looked like this morning there was going to be some chances too, but so far it hasn't rained. So I decided, if nothing else, I could go for not a gravel ride, but a ride on pavement. So that's what I did. There's a east wind, so I rode 20-ish miles on this one county road into the wind to the east, and then turned around and came back. It was supposed to be a little more laid back, shorter distance ride, as I'm resting up for next week at this point. So essentially I'm as ready for the race as I'm going to be. I'm not racing. I'm just doing it to finish it, and hopefully do it with a decent average speed. That's all I'm shooting for. I know my capabilities. But on Thursday I'm going to head down to Emporia, and I'm just camping out at the fairgrounds. The few days I'm going to be down there, and my wife's going to join me on Friday. She's going to be my support person on Saturday. So it should be interesting. I've gone down I've gone down 3 times prior and watched the Unbound races much as you can, like going to the start and finish, and going to like the checkpoints for the 200 and 100 courses, watching some of the riders come through, that sort of thing. So I've done that. I've never gone down before the day of the race, though, to Emporia itself. I mean, it's become quite a big thing, really being one of the world's premier gravel bike races. But they have just a number of things going on the days leading up to it. So that'll be interesting to experience. And I don't know. I've been working towards this goal of just riding the thing and finishing it. The Mickey Mouse 100-mile version, as I call it. I've been working towards it for months now. I've really only been able to train all that much on the bike for about 3 months, because it was pretty cold, snowy, and nasty up until like the last week or so of February. January was cold and snowy and nasty. We got snow that didn't really melt for a good 3 weeks or so. Then there was one day where it was decently warm, and I went out a gravel ride that day. And there was one day in February before where was there? Anyway, it was basically the end of February, the last week or so, before I could really start riding. So I've really only had March, April, and May to get ready. But I've done a few 100-mile rides on gravel over the last number of weeks. I wish I could have done one last weekend, but I was on call, so I couldn't that would have been really optimal to do a few 100-mile rides, including one like last Saturday, and then do like a shorter one this week, like I did, and just kind of rest up. But I was on call. Really nothing I could do about that. So, but I think I'll be fine. I've done 100-mile rides already. I did the Flint Hills gravel ride, which was a 85-mile ride over. There's at least one section of road that it has in common with the Unbound 100 course. So some of that rougher Flint Hills gravel road stuff. So I've done, a good ride and, long distance ride on some of those roads already. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'm curious to see if I feel like doing it again or not. I might fall in love with it and want to do it. I don't know if I ever really. I don't know if I could do the 200. For some reason, I feel like I shouldn't say that. But at the same time, I struggle to understand how non-pro riders can do that 200-mile race, how they can train enough to do that long of a ride. But normal cyclists do somehow. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. There's a lottery process. I think that the getting selected for the lottery for the 200-mile race is a lot harder. I think more people enter the lottery for that. The 100-mile race, I've only tried entering the lottery once and I got picked. Somebody at work who's ridden the 200 a few times, he said that he claimed that the more local people, I live 2 hours away from Emporia, but he said that the more local Kansan people, they more likely to get selected than people from like out of state and out of country. But I could totally believe that maybe that was the case, but the governing body or whatever that puts on the company or whatever you call it, the company that puts on the event company that puts on the race has changed, and also it's increased in popularity. So I'm not sure that's really the case anymore. But anyway, I'll ride it once and see how it goes. Might want to do it again, might not. I don't know. I've just been hoping and praying for good weather because some of the roads are dirt roads, and if they turn to mud, you just can't ride them. You basically have to just walk your bike along the side of them in the grass, which isn't fun, especially for long stretches. And not only that, some roads, some roads are where they're kind of cut into the hill. There's not a whole lot of space between the edge of the road and where it gets kind of steep. I don't know if any of the roads, dirt roads on the course will be like that, but I know in places in the past that I've ridden through, sometimes there's not really good places to walk your bike along the side of it where it's not muddy and it's walkable. But anyway. Oh yeah. I'm having some Elizabethan mixture in my Peterson birth year, 1979 for me. This P-lip saddle bit apple. I really like Elizabethan mixture. I've kind of figured out that I'm not the biggest Perique fan in the world, but I do like it when it's done right, I guess. From my opinion, not too heavy. The Elizabethan mixture seems quite good. The Perique's there, but it's a little bit more subtle. Not to say I don't greatly enjoy other Virginia Periques that the Perique's a little bit more prominent in. But family stuff, like my wife's aunt and cousin, they're on the mend, thankfully. that seems to have eventually gotten to a pretty good place. So that situation's better. I had an uncle who, he's not a blood uncle, but he was kind of a, well, it wasn't kind of, he was essentially an unofficially adopted uncle, my dad's family. And we found out 2 weeks ago that he died. Um, he was actually one of the groomsmen in our wedding, and I don't know. I think Elliot was. I think he had just turned 60. Um, I guess somebody went over to his house that Saturday and found him out back on the patio, having just keeled over. I guess he looked like he had gone out back on the patio the night before and to enjoy a glass of wine and a cigarette, and that was it. Um, that was kind of a shock. I found out about that right as I was driving to my aunt's, not my aunt, to Alicia, my wife's niece's graduation. Um, but yeah, that Elliot dying hasn't been a fun thing to deal with, to accept. He didn't want a funeral or anything, which I don't know. Kind of leaves this sort of, I don't know. It just kind of teaches. This just kind of goes to show me, not that I ever thought about not having a funeral, but having a funeral does give people the chance to kind of process things, I guess. Same thing happened when my brother-in-law died back right at the beginning of the pandemic, because he didn't have a funeral either. We had like a Zoom call thing because all the lockdowns and all that. A couple years back, like about 2 years ago roughly, we did go out to Rocky Mountain National Park and did like an ashes scattering thing. So we did have that eventually, but anyway. So yeah, there's been some good things and some things to anticipate, and some crummy things and all that. But anyway, the day after, like that evening after I found out that Elliot had died, the day before, I decided to do my own little thing to honor him. I opened up the bottle of I had a bottle of Pinot Noir from Burgundy, the Burgundy wine region in France, where they grow a lot of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. It happens to be two of my more favorite wines. But I had a bottle of actually French Burgundy Pinot Noir. I opened that, enjoyed that, and smoked a couple cigars. I thought Elliot would like that. But we last Friday, trying not to get this video too long, but last Friday, my parents found a kitten just all by itself in their garage, which is, they live in town. But their garage is actually, I'd kind of describe it as like a 2-car garage, but essentially it's a barn. It's like a 2-story barn. In their house, which I think was built in the 20s. Apparently, once upon a time, a guy that lived there actually had a horse or two in that barn and hitched him up to a carriage or whatever. So I guess it actually was a real barn at one point. But they found this kitten, an orange tabby, male tabby, all by himself. So they asked us if we wanted him, and we said yes. I I was hoping that eventually we would get another orange or sand colored tabby, because Jones, our cat that I got right before I met Alicia, actually, just a few months before I met her, I got Jones. He was a male tabby. He was kind of a sand colored buff tabby, whatever you call him. But we had to put him to sleep back in early December. He had had some sort of thyroid problem or something where he just lost weight and lost weight. And he was like that for probably around 3 years. Maybe not quite 4, 3 or 4 years. Or, yeah, 3 or 4 years. And we just tried to keep him eating and keep as much weight on as we could. And it got to the point where he needed to be put to sleep. That was a hard decision. It really was a decision that I couldn't make. I told Alicia that I turned that over to her because I had a hard time making that call. But anyway, we now have a new kitten, which is interesting. It's quite the adventure. But anyway, so we got this cat a few years back, actually, right in like before 2020 started. He was like somebody that used to live by us when we lived in an old place. She used to be a police officer. Alicia knew her from when she was a sheriff's deputy. And they had this cat, this tabby, who they were trying to find a new home for him. If they couldn't like rehome him, they were going to take him to the pound because supposedly her new boyfriend was allergic to him or something. But anyway, we wound up taking him, and his name is Leo, like Leo, capital L, capital E, capital O, and yeah, it stands for law enforcement officer, which we think is funny. Leo's a good name for a cat because it means lion in Latin, of course. But so the whole joke is, he's a law enforcement officer and all that. So when we were trying to think of a name for this new kitten, actually, as we were driving down the interstate we met my parents kind of halfway town, halfway between Manhattan and here, and drove by a state trooper car. They're in the median, and the idea popped in. I said, well, we could call him Trooper because it would go with Leo, the law enforcement officer. So that's what we wound up doing. His name is Trooper Finn, Finn, kind of his middle name. But so anyway, that's the latest, and it's been kind of nice though. Like with Elliot dying and that sort of thing, it's been kind of nice to have the levity of having a kitten in the house and that sort of thing. But anyway, that's what's been going on. Yeah, I've just been busy with a lot of things. I feel like I'm always like really behind on replying to comments and that sort of thing. Like I'll think to do it and then I'll get busy with something and forget to sit down and do it, that sort of thing. Haven't been able to really keep up with videos as much as I'd like to. But anyway, I'll let you know how the race goes here whenever. So thanks for joining me. I'm Gareth with Flint Hills Briar. See you next time.